Hello everyone, thank you very much once again joining us in this video where we are going to take some time to think, to go over certain aspects of our daily life, of our daily struggles, which can be protective of stress and stressful experiences. I recall that the idea here is to bring a solid and the preceding material from serious research in psychology, neuroscience, psychiatry, neurology, clinic, and bring it in order to offer a means for us to go building our wisdom. And what do we call wisdom? Wisdom as the possibility of living a better life, living in a better fashion, interacting in a different style with different paradigms, and thus having psychological well-being, quality of life, and all these things that we all wish to have. So we have today some time to dedicate on one kind of quest, if you like, one kind of cause, which is extremely common in our midst, which is the urge, the seeking for satisfaction. As you know, we have the famous song, the Beatles, not even my generation, it's the generation before mine. It's a long time ago. There was this hit, this huge hit by the Stones called Satisfaction. I can get no satisfaction, and I try, I can get no. So on. I think that's what how the words go, how the lyrics go. So you see, there is an existential, there is a human seek, a human search for satisfaction, and it's very common. We think of things in a satisfactory, in a satisfying needs way. We think of things in that direction. We have biological necessities. Obvious that everyone knows that: thirst, hunger, sleep, then a need to relieve pain, a need to relieve suffering. These are biological necessities. They stem from the most organic and primeval needs of our beings, which is to satisfy our biological dimension, which is essential, by the way. It's extremely important to be done and to be well done. Then you have, besides these strictly biological needs, we have some other kinds of needs and necessities, which are in a certain way are derived, descend from these primary biological needs, which we share with other animals. Now, when we get to psychological needs, which is this branch of our biology, we have needs that are specific to deal with our psychological necessities and unsettlings. So we have several theories. Today, I'm just going to make mention to social security theory by Professor Slavich, which is something that it's nothing to do with social in the political, economical sense of the word, but social in the most intimate and the most human way we can think. Think of social as my circle of friends, my expanded family, my neighborhood, and so on and so forth. My friends, my work mates, and so on. So these all these needs, it's basically feeling safe, feeling protected, feeling part of something, is extremely tranquilizing. It is extremely peacemaking in our nature. So social reassurance, human support, mutual support, emotional support we are talking about here, and family belonging, feeling part of something, feeling accepted in a group, all these things build a sort of an embedding where we feel more or less safe, more or less reassured. We experience more or less psychological well-being. So there is something about stress and dealing with it that is extremely social, because we are social beings. The individual is a very slippery concept. What is exactly an individual? Might be easier to define what's an organism, but an individual can get messy, really, really, really messy. Although, say, I'm an individual, you who are watching me is another individual, but how much of my individuality is in fact undivisible? Because individual means he or she who cannot be split, cannot be divided. Yet, from a moral point of view, from an emotional point of view, from a psychological point of view, we often inherently split inside. So it can be messy when we are dealing with our emotional, with the more refined aspects of our being, where we depend on the other one, on our neighbor, and our neighbor depends on us. And then there is something that's not exactly me, not exactly my neighbor, but that which establishes itself in between me and my neighbor. That's very sophisticated if you think of it from a natural point of view, and you look what you have in other species and what you have in nature. It's quite a novelty, and it has very, very, very close bonds with episodic memory, which we have been talking about for the last videos. So, to attend a psychological need can be something very different to aiding a biological necessity. It can be something fairly different. And why do I say that? Because we can check that in a very easy way. We can look at love. Okay? So what comes behind all these social security theory, all these reassurings, all these mutual supportings we talked about? Exactly, love. Love is the kind of the substance in which these bonds are made. We can say practically we are loving creatures. It's about love. And then you say, how can you prove that? I'll tell you how. You live in your place. You have a wife, you have a husband, you have your family. You bring in a pet, a dog, a cat, an aquarium fish, a bird, I don't know, whatever. Why on earth would you do that? For what? What's the point? What's the point in having a pet? The possibility of a love exchange. And what else? Actually nothing else. The rest is the trouble your pet will take you to. You have to get him food, you have to take care of him. When you're going to travel, you have to study your schedule. It's a huge source of headache and of pain, because usually our pets, they are species which live less than human beings, so we usually bury them, and that's tough. You almost bury a person, not a human being, a non-human person. Now, why on earth would you do that? What's the point? The point is we have this need for love. But now when we go a little deeper into it, I don't want to be too hard here, so I won't talk about having children, but give me honestly a empirical, practical reason why we should bear children. Why on earth should we marry? What do you have in your head when you decide you're going to marry? What were you thinking about? Love. You were thinking about enhancing your loving experience. Now, this is not romance. We are not talking about romance. I'm not inviting you to have a romantic involvement with your kitten or with your turtle. We are talking about love in the more large sense of it. So we have eros, we have erotic love, and this is not what we're dealing with. Then you have agape, the Greek word for love as a whole. You have philos, which is a love by identification, the love you have with your friends, with the people you share common hobbies, you share common interests. But then you have all these forms of love. And our well-being, our safety, our comfort, if you like, our inner comfort comes a lot in proportion to how solid and healthy we have these bonds. So, and I say a need for love, there's a slight difference here to a demand for love, a claim for love. When I talk about the need for love, usually I mean I need to love. So I get a pet, not because the pet is going to love me. I get the pet because I wish to love the pet. It is healthy to love. We have gardens, beautiful places. Right, this place here where we are recording this video has one beautiful garden. Beautiful. Very lovable plants. Now, I really cannot feel a plant loving me. But then I have the garden and I cultivate these things because I love the plant. That's the healthy part of it. When I love, it's a healthy emotion, it's a healthy position, it's an edifying, constructive way of looking at life. And my biology follows this edifying way. I feel I build a better enzymatic, inflammatory profile for myself. I build better cognition. I build a better affective, emotional roundabout for myself. So, when I talk of needing for love, I need to love. But when I feel I have to be loved, that would be something different to the need for love. That would be a claim for love. Now, when I have a claim for love, I want someone to love me. And then that gets very close. That's I need to be loved. That goes very close to a claim of being nurtured, of being taken care of. Now, don't be hasteful. Don't be hasty. We do need that also. We need to feel to some degree we are being helped, we are being nurtured, someone is taking care of us. To some degree, that is extremely important. But it cannot reach the heights of a claim. Because when that happens, then I can go straight forward, heading into unhappiness. Because people and things and life, whatever, will never love me to the extent and in the depth I think I am due being loved. There's always a gap there. And then you have insatisfaction, you have a deceit, you have disappointments, you have deceptions, you have bitter surprises, frustrating relationships. When I'm talking about frustrated relationships, I'm not talking about romantic. I'm talking about friends that let you down. You feel let down by friends. People who you thought were your allies, you discover they're playing against you. That sort of thing. And then that can make a claim for love very painful in your life. To attend the need, really, if it's whatever need for love or whatever it is, whatever you feel lack of, when you try to attend it, you're mediating You're doing something mediated by your episodic memory. A relief is very similar to the revival of a very pleasurable, of a very gratifying previous experience or sensation. So when I feel I'm unhappy, usually I can relate to a moment in my life when I was way happier than I am today. There is even a song that says, "Those were the happiest days of my life," as if it were possible to have the happier and to have the less happy. But that's how we work with things. And when we have this continuous, the stronger, and of course, what do we recall in our episodic memory? Our parameters will be the most salient experience, the most unhappy moment of my life, and the happiest days of my life. Why not the others? Because the others are not sufficiently salient. Our tendency is to rely on the more intense traces of our memory. So we're going to remember when we were extremely happy, and then we'll feel, or we were extremely loved, and then we feel lack of being so intensely loved and nurtured. By the way, we were all babies, weren't we? At some time of our life, some moment, for a long period, we were babies. And our nurturing went weaning off slowly. And to some degree, even as adults, we maybe haven't weaned enough. But that's about being human. And so when we have this need to reach again a happy moment we suppose hypothetically lived in the past, we go into an experience of insatiability. Why? Because the biological necessities, hunger, thirst, whatever, they are quenchable. They can be solved, they can be relieved. But psychological claims are usually insatiable. It's impossible to reach the satisfaction you're seeking. Why? Because possibly it's something you have built with your episodic memory and does not have such an earthly basis for it. There might be some effect of exaggeration on your part. Remember the meta-memories, the meta-memory mechanisms? These things also act in sense of making you feel more nostalgic about a brilliant past you had, as opposite to a dull present. All these things. Anyway, this insatiability leads to a vicious circle. And where I have this claim and it's not attended. I have the claim, it's not attended. Then I claim harder, and then I'm not attended harder. And then you go on into an exhaustion funnel. Mechanism goes into exhaustion by itself. And then you have stress. Any vicious cycle in your life will wind up on stress. So, what can we say about that? How can we deal with this other effect, which is understandable? It is a fair enough effect of this huge memorization and memory and data elaboration we have in our hearts and in our minds. It is about perception. What has to be dealt with is always our perception, and the perception on the present moment. And when I feel towards someone, I feel this way or that way, to what an extent am I actually having a claim? To what a degree am I actually having a need? And remember, usually our needs are needs to do something and not to receive something. So when I'm thirsty, I don't have the need for water. I need to drink. I need to swallow water. It's not exactly water. Because if it's water I cannot drink, it's not potable, it won't do. My thirst will not be relieved. So that is the basic point, is that our needs are things that put us in motion, and not things where we demand something coming from outside to add to us, to sum up, to accrete to what we have. It's pretty much the contrary. The need that I notice in myself is the inspiration for an action. And to inspire is to achieve. So when, because we deal with mindfulness here, when you think of that, you think, how can mindfulness help me in this? Mindfulness can help you to focus on the present moment and notice. If you're feeling jealous of your husband, you're feeling jealous of your girlfriend, or you think your children are not giving enough attention to you, just stop and notice yourself. And notice what you are imagining you expect from people, and what is, after all, your unhappiness. That's the root of psychological claims, psychological demands, and it is extremely important once we are adults, once we are dealing with life as it is, it's extremely important we acquire some mastery over it. And how do we do that? We do that by perceiving, by noticing, by exercising our perception about ourselves. That is another name for getting out of automatic pilot. It's about that. Noticing what you're feeling, what you're about to say, how you are about to act toward your children, toward your wife, toward your husband, toward your parents. That is definitely a very profitable, a very happy way to approach unhappiness and insatisfaction. Thank you very much for having followed us. If you enjoyed the video, give us a like, share, comment, and subscribe to our channel to catch up on the other videos which relate to this one you have just watched. Thank you very much.